Hey guys, and welcome back to Mad About Skin. If you're new to our channel, welcome. Here at Mad About Skin, we're passionate about helping you to get the most out of your skincare. So if you haven't already, make sure you click that button below, subscribe, ring the bell, and you won't miss out on any of our future content. Today's video, we're going to be talking dry skin. Specifically, what causes it, what you can do to combat it, and what are the key ingredients in your routine that you need if you're suffering from dry or combination dry skin. If you followed our channel for some time, you'll see we've already done the videos covering oily skin, sensitive skin, and combination skin. So this really is applicable to those viewers who have drier skin, or maybe, and this I think is a really good point to make straight off the bat, you don't actually need to have dry skin all year round and keep the same routine year round. I, for example, find myself very dry in the winter, usually because it's cold, quite cold here in the UK. I have the heating on in the house, which sucks the moisture out of the air and out of my skin, so my skin is much drier in the winter. In the summer, I'm actually quite oily, I seem to have excess sebum production, and I get more breakouts. So tailor your skincare routine to what your skin needs at the time. Some people are unfortunately dry year round, so they can use this routine year round. For those that are just dry intermittently, make sure you're incorporating these products into your skincare routine at those times that you're dry. So, dry skin. Well, at its basis, dry skin is an absence of moisture in the skin. There's nothing more complex to it than that. This can be external and internal. So you'll often find with people with dry skin, you don't drink enough water. So make sure that you are getting your required amount of water. Now this varies depending on who you speak to, which professional you consult, what different foods you're eating, the lifestyle you have. I would generally say 2.5 litres of water per day, spaced evenly across the day, is what you should be aiming for. Don't binge drink water. Make sure you space it evenly out over the day. One of the top tips I give you is when you're doing your skincare in the morning, make sure you have a glass of water and you get through it whilst you're doing your skincare. Same in the evening. That way you're at least guaranteeing 2 glasses of water per day on top of what you're probably already doing anyway. So that would be the first thing. Some people though do have persistent dry skin. It's nothing to do with the amount of water that you take in or consume. It's all to do with the level of sebum and oil activity in the skin. If that's you, unfortunately it is harder to tackle, but there are absolutely things we can do to help you tackle that. And this is, I think for those people, this is where this video is going to add the most value. So what does dry skin look like? It's tight, it's uncomfortable, it might look over wrinkled beyond the age of the person because it's not got, the skin hasn't got that plumpness. You might find it's peeling, it's more susceptible to redness and irritation. All these things are side effects of having dry, often quite uncomfortable skin. So it's really important we get on top of that. So first things first is your cleanser. Now, if you've got dry skin, just be really careful. I don't mind what cleanser you choose to use. I've mentioned on this, I've done a whole video on cleansers, which I'll link up there. I tend to say, if you've got dry skin, strip it right back and use the minimum ingredients in a cleanser you can get away with. Squarlane is a fantastic oil-based cleanser, which will really help to minimise any moisture loss from the skin. Make sure you're not using anything with a treatment in. So if you're using a cleanser that has a vitamin C and has a salicylic acid in, these things are actually things that could be drying the skin out as well. So make sure you take it right back to basics. Basic cleanser that's oil-based and isn't going to strip the skin any further. In this process, some things that really need to point out. First of all, do not use makeup wipes. I don't think anybody should be using makeup wipes, but particularly if you have dry skin, makeup wipes are really bad. They have a lot of preservatives, they have a lot of chemicals in there which are going to strip and dry the skin. You're going to be more abrasive on the skin, rougher on the skin, and also you'll be much more beneficial to have an oil-based makeup remover. So if you wear heavy makeup during the day, a two-step cleansing routine is all you need. An oil-based cleanser followed by a basic hydrating cleanser such as a Squarlane cleanser. That's your first step. Beyond that, I think a lot of the problem that people have with dry skin is dry skin tends to hold on to dead skin cells much more than any other skin type. So what you'll get is layers and layers and layers of dead skin on the face, and it's really hard for products that you put on after that to penetrate through it. So you're not getting the full benefits of the products you're putting on because it can't penetrate, almost like you're wearing a mask. And I know I've had dry skin. I know it sometimes feels like you're wearing a mask. So I guess that's how I'd look at it, is you need to remove all that dead skin so that the products you can use are going to be absorbed into the skin much more quickly, effectively, and penetrate deeper. So you need a really good exfoliant. For dry skin, you want a hydrating exfoliant. So different exfoliating acids do different things. Avoid manual scrubs completely. I've heard people recommend them for people with dry skin because you need the extra exfoliation. It doesn't work. They are no better than chemical exfoliants, and they do far more risk and far more damage. So avoid them completely and go for a chemical exfoliant. I've done a whole video on exfoliants, so you can check that out. But glycolic acid is your friend. So glycolic acid is hydrating as well as exfoliating. It's one of the stronger exfoliating acids, particularly if you use it in the right concentration. And it's also going to hydrate the skin as well and be much less stripping than a salicylic acid, for example. So the one I would usually recommend is, I've used the Ordinary before, that's fantastic, but I could also recommend the Pixi Glow Tonic. This has some added ingredients that I think would be beneficial to someone with dry skin. So it's got aloe in there, it's got some glycerol in there, so things which are going to be hydrating the skin as well as exfoliating. So one of the occasions where I do think spending a little bit more money on the Pixi is probably for the best, because it's got some added ingredients that I do think, if you've got dry skin only, is beneficial. So first step, get rid of all of that dead skin. So you're going to be working fresh, you're going to be working with good skin, the skin is going to be prepped. What you should always do is make sure that you add your products in when the skin is still damp. If you let the skin completely dry, then in a way you're allowing that moisture to be taken out with the evaporation and the drying process. So always make sure you put your products on when the skin is still damp, because that way you're going to be locking in that moisture rather than letting it evaporate and then trying to counteract it. So once you've done your exfoliation, you need to move on to, and this is an absolutely essential product for dry skin, a hyaluronic acid. I've recommended previously the Inculist hyaluronic acid. This is a fantastic humectant. Hyaluronic acid is sort of the gold standard for moisturising. What it does is it holds up to different studies give you different figures, but it holds up to 1,000 times its own weight in water. So you put this on your skin and it's going to be attracting water to the skin, locking it in and making sure that your skin is hydrated, not just from the time that you put your moisturiser on, but throughout the whole day. So get yourself a good hyaluronic acid. So I fully recommend the Inculist one. It's nice, it layers properly, and it doesn't pill and peel like some of the other ones do. So this, absolutely fantastic product. Now, beyond this, I think I like to keep it simple. If you're super and persistently dry, I think keeping it simple. You can add other things into your routine, actives that I've talked about. I think whilst you're dealing and getting on top of the dry skin, I wouldn't add anything else active into your skin beyond the glycolic acid, the hyaluronic acid. I would now move to my sunscreen and my moisturisers. Now these are really important, because I think a lot of people with dry skin I've spoke to me and said they don't like using sunscreens because they sit in the dry skin, they sit in the cracks, they burn and they sting a bit more because of that dry skin and that compromised skin barrier. Absolutely that can be the case, but not if you choose the right products. So I'm going to do some recommendations here. In terms of your moisturiser, I've mentioned what I think is the best drugstore moisturiser. I just don't think you can beat this, particularly for dry skin. This is the cilaplast balm from Roche Posay. Gorgeous product. Really recommend it. The reason I think it's so good is often with dry skin you get irritation, and this has got polyphenol in here, which is going to help counter some of that irritation, that's itching that you might get. It's also packed full of peptides and ceramides, which are going to help repair the barrier function of the skin. This is essential in people with dry skin. This is actually really cheap. So this is the 40ml version. It does come in a bigger version, but the 40ml version is about £5 here in the UK, so under $10 in the US. You might want to try CeraVe. They do very similar. It's a very similar product. Again, it's the peptides, it's the ceramides, it's these moisturising products that takes it next level from what is quite a basic moisturiser to something that's really going to repair the skin barrier, which is what is so compromised in dry skin. So I fully recommend this La Roche-Posay. If you've got dry skin and you haven't tried this, promise me you will, because honestly, I'm not sponsored. I have no brand loyalty. It is just a fantastic product. This, or a CeraVe, something like that is the go-to moisturiser. And I would say apply it as often as you can get away with. So obviously you're going to apply it in the morning, you're going to apply it in the evening. If you're not wearing heavy makeup, because it's going to disrupt that stuff, if you're not wearing heavy makeup and you do get dry midday, this is a perfect size to put in your bag, so you can reapply it midday if it's possible. And I'd encourage you to do that, again, if you can. Finally, sunscreen. So, excuse me, I'm using the In Transit Skin Defense by This Works. Now, the reason I like this is when I'm combination, I can use this as my moisturiser. This is moisturising enough that I can use it just as my moisturiser, so it's a 2-in-1 product. When I'm dry, I can use this and the Roche Posay product together, and that's going to just supercharge my hydration. So I really love a moisturiser that's already hydrating in of itself, rather than having to almost counteract some of the drying elements that some mineral sunscreens can have. This is the SPF 30. It's the In Transit Skin Defense by This Works. It's SPF 30. It is a chemical sunscreen. Now, I know some people don't like chemical sunscreens. I get that. I also will use a mineral sunscreen. The reason I'm recommending this is I find mineral sunscreens can be a little bit irritating for people with dry, compromised skin. So you might find that that's the reason why you're not getting on with SPFs. So this isn't. This is hypoallergenic, and it's not fragranced. It's not going to be really adding to any irritation that you might already be suffering, and I think that's key. So again, apply this on a morning and you're good to go. It's a really good SPF. I think that, to me, is your basic routine. Now, obviously, as you get on top of the dryness, you can add additional actives in there. But I think until you're on top of the dryness, you really want to strip it right back to basics, and you need your cleanser, you need your exfoliator, your hyaluronic acid, your moisturiser, and your SPF. Those are the 5 ingredients in a dry skincare routine. Once you get beyond that and you want to try things like adding the vitamin C in and things, that is absolutely fine, but do that gradually, because you will find that these things can also impact the skin barrier, and as a result might lead to more dryness. And that's what I just don't want you guys to be almost causing the dryness. In terms of just a couple, before I finish this video, just a couple of do's and don'ts, I think. As I always say with all products, patch test before you use them. That's the same with dry, combination oil, it doesn't matter. Patch test behind the ear, make sure you're not going to have an allergic reaction to the product. That's just good practice. Make sure you're not doing anything which is adding to the dryness. And by that I mean using products that are heavily scented, heavily coloured, and have a heavy number of preservatives in. You'll see in things, I've talked about makeup wipes, they are packed full of preservatives, fragrances, chemicals that are going to dry the skin. If you're using them, you're causing some of the dryness that you've got. If you are, if you're dry because of something, so for example, you might be using a retinol and that's caused some quite extreme dryness. If that doesn't go away quite quickly, you're using the wrong product or the wrong strength of product. So make sure that none of the products in your routine are causing that dryness, because that should go away in the instance of retinol in a couple of weeks maximum. If it's still persisting after that, you've got a problem with the product. It might be reacting with your skin, it might be too strong. You need to change that out. So don't just keep blindly carrying on with products even though deep down you know that's probably causing the dryness, because it's not going to be effective. And then finally, I think beyond the drinking water, which is obviously crucial, making sure you've got the right products in there, I think another key thing when it comes to dryness, I think, is to make sure there's not an underlying issue. So a lot of people might say that they're dry and irritated, their skin is dry and irritated. It could be an allergic reaction either to something you're consuming or something that you're putting on your skin. You should know if that's the case. If you've been dry for ages, it's probably not. If it's a recent occurrence, I'd look more into that and see if there is an underlying cause. There might not be. You know, we do just, like I say, we do just cyclically. Our skin cycles depend on the weather, the pollutants, external factors. But if it's suddenly come on, I would look into whether there's some sort of aggressor, some sort of allergic reaction which is driving that. All right, guys, I hope you found this useful. I know I'm oily most of the time, but I do know equally how hard it is and how uncomfortable it is being dry. And we often forget about our dry friends because it's all about the acne and the self-confidence damage that acne does. And it absolutely does. It can destroy your self-confidence. But so can dry skin. So can that sense that you're flaking. You're worried that you've got it on your clothes. You're worried that your skin's peeling. You look old before your time, even though you're not. You feel like you're doing everything right and nothing is helping with that thing. It's just the same as acne in that respect. So I do think we should show a little bit more love for our dry skin friends, because it is just as hard to tackle as acne. And absolutely hope that this video has given you the basics you need to be able to take it forward and, you know, improve on the skin that you've got. Now, guys, I'd love to know in the comments below if you suffer with dry skin, anything you've tried. Do you have any recommendations, things that have worked for you? Because let's share it. I'm also quite interested in some natural preparations that people use. So I've heard a lot of people recommend aloe vera as a good way of combating some of the irritation and the dryness. I haven't tried that myself, but I'd love to know if you have, or if you've got any other hacks that, you know, might help people to understand how to get on top of their dry skin. Love to hear it, so leave it in the comments below. Guys, the support has been overwhelming, so as always, if you can give us a thumbs up, it will be absolutely fantastic, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next video. Take care, bye.